the 20-seat bottleneck. There are over 8 billion people on Earth. Around 20 of them get to sit in an F1 car on Sunday. That's it. Just 20 seats on the grid every season. No backups, no rotation squads, no generous bench warmers. 2 seats per team, 10 teams, ruthless competition. And here's the brutal part. Those seats don't exactly go to the best drivers today. They often go to the best combination of talent, funding, and family ties. You want one of those seats? Good luck fighting through a minefield of billionaires' sons and pay drivers who bring whole companies with them. Just ask Oscar Piastri, one of the most promising young drivers in years. He won Formula 3. He won Formula 2. But when 2022 rolled around, he had no F1 seat. 0. Then there's Nikita Mazepin, a driver who struggled for pace but still got a seat because his billionaire father sponsored the entire Haas team. Or Lance Stroll, who jumped into F1 with the financial backing of his dad's empire behind him. This isn't a fair fight. It's a knife fight in a locked room with only 20 chairs. And sometimes, no matter how good you are, someone else's money decides whether you sit down or stay watching from the sidelines. Super license madness. Before you can even dream of squeezing into one of those 20 seats, there's a bureaucratic hurdle that's tripped up plenty of talented drivers. The FIA super license. It's the golden ticket to F1, and getting it is far from easy. To qualify, you need 40 super license points from racing in lower tier series, racking them up over 3 years. Sounds reasonable until you realise that not all championships count equally, and some top talents have watched their F1 dreams stall thanks to this system. Look at Colton Herta. The young American is one of IndyCar's brightest stars, with race wins and serious pace. But in 2022, even as Red Bull was eyeing him as a replacement for Pierre Gasly at AlphaTauri, there was one problem. Herta didn't have enough super license points. Despite racing against some of the best drivers in the world, IndyCar just doesn't offer as many points as Formula 2, and that blocked his move cold. Then there's Nick de Vries, Formula E champion, Formula 2 champion, Mercedes reserve driver, and even he struggled to break into F1. He sat on the sidelines for years despite having all the credentials because seats were scarce, and the super license system adds yet another gatekeeper. By the way, the super license rules were brought in after a 17-year-old Max Verstappen debuted in 2015 to prevent kids with cash from jumping straight into F1. But ironically, it's ended up keeping some of the best prospects out too, all while money still talks loudest elsewhere on the grid. Cutthroat politics. Talent is great, but in Formula 1, talent alone doesn't save you when the boardroom door closes. Careers are made and destroyed in offices, not just on track. Ask Sergio Perez. In 2020, Perez pulled off one of the best feel-good wins in recent memory, grabbing victory for Racing Point in Bahrain, his first ever after 190 starts. Just days later, fired. Why? Racing Point was rebranding as Aston Martin, and they wanted a bigger name to match. Enter Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion, but clearly past his prime. Team owner Lawrence Stroll pulled the trigger anyway. Perez didn't matter. Results didn't matter. Marketing did. And this isn't a one-off story. F1 has a long tradition of sponsorship muscle overriding merit. Teams desperately need money to survive, and that means drivers who bring sponsors or personal backers can lock in seats even if their pace is average. Even Esteban Ocon, one of the brightest young French drivers, lost his Force India seat in 2018, despite consistently outperforming his teammate, because Lance Stroll's dad literally bought the team. No seat for Ocon. Full-time ride for Stroll. Then there's the weird world of reserve drivers like Nico Hülkenberg, who bounced around for years because he was fast, but didn't have a huge sponsor attached. Behind every driver, there's a spreadsheet, a contract, and a billionaire whispering in the background. Surviving the physical demands. You think Formula One drivers just sit and steer? Think again. Driving an F1 car is like being strapped into a roller coaster, a sauna, and a centrifuge, all at once for nearly 2 hours. Every time a driver brakes hard, turns sharply, or accelerates out of a corner, they're hit with forces of up to 5 Gs. That's 5 times their body weight pulling them sideways or forward. Just holding their head up under that load is a workout, and that's why drivers like Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc train their necks like they're prepping for a strongman contest. Heat? Oh yeah, cockpit temperatures regularly hit 50 degrees Celsius. That means by the end of a race, drivers can lose up to 3 kilograms of body weight, most of it sweat. Add in 20 plus corners per lap, relentless gear shifts, and constant throttle and brake modulation. It's a physical beating. Alex Albon's Singapore Grand Prix in 2022 is a perfect example. He came back from surgery just weeks earlier and still raced in conditions so humid and hot that he was visibly drained getting out of the car. And there's no break for the smaller drivers either. Even though F1 introduced minimum driver plus car weight limits, smaller drivers like Yuki Tsunoda still face a disadvantage. They have to bulk up carefully without tipping the scales or losing neck strength. In F1, survival starts before the green light. You have to be an elite athlete just to last the distance. Mental pressure. Driving a Formula One car isn't just about holding on physically. It's a mental pressure cooker where one mistake at 300 kilometers per hour can end your race, your season, or even your career. At every corner, drivers juggle brake balance, tyre temperatures, energy recovery systems, fuel targets, and strategic radio messages, all while threading a car within centimetres of walls or rivals. And that mental load doesn't ease up. One lapse in focus, even for a second, and it's game over. For instance, in 2012, Grosjean earned the nickname First Lap Nutcase after a string of opening lap crashes. The most infamous? Spa-Francorchamps, where he triggered a massive pile-up at Turn 1, taking out Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, and Sergio Perez before they even made it halfway around lap 1. Grosjean got slapped with a one-race ban, rare in modern F1, as a reminder of just how costly a mental misstep can be. And then there's Sebastian Vettel's infamous spin in Germany 2018. In wet conditions, leading comfortably, Vettel simply slid off track and into the gravel, handing the race and, arguably, the championship momentum straight to Hamilton. Even seasoned champions crack under this pressure. The smallest hesitation or wrong call while managing pace, fuel, tyres and competitors means disaster. Rookie humiliation stories. Getting to Formula One is hard, but surviving your rookie season? That's where humiliation loves to show up. Even future stars have looked lost during their debuts. Yuji Ide is the most brutal example. The Japanese driver arrived at Super Aguri in 2006 and barely lasted 4 races. His driving was so wild, the FIA straight up revoked his super license mid-season after he launched Christijan Albers into a barrel roll at Imola. The rare case of a driver being forcibly benched, not for politics, not for money, but for being dangerously out of his depth. Then there's Brendan Hartley in 2017. Toro Rosso threw him in as a last-minute replacement after Pierre Gasly left mid-season for a Super Formula title fight. Hartley was fast in endurance racing but struggled badly in F1's cutthroat environment. Just 25 races later, dropped, never to return. Even Sebastian Vettel, who became a 4-time world champion, had a rough start. His debut for BMW Sauber in 2007 earned him a fine for speeding in the pit lane just seconds after leaving the garage. Still the record for the fastest ever F1 penalty. And let's not forget Nicholas Latifi, who finished 2020 as Williams' full-time rookie. but quickly gained a reputation for spinning at awkward moments and struggled to shake off being labelled a backmarker. In F1, rookies don't get a grace period. From the moment the lights go out, the entire world is watching, and mistakes stick. Even the greats have felt the sting of public failure before their careers took flight. Staying in F1 is even harder. Getting one of those 20 seats is brutal. But staying there? That's a whole different fight, and it can turn savage fast. Look at Pierre Gasly. In 2019, Red Bull promoted him from Toro Rosso after just one full season, expecting fireworks. But by mid-season, gone. Demoted back to Toro Rosso after just 12 races. Why? Not enough podiums, a string of tough weekends, and a brutal comparison to teammate Max Verstappen. Then there's Daniil Kvyat, another Red Bull graduate. He stood on the podium in China 2016, only to be demoted 2 races later after a messy collision with Vettel at his home race in Russia. Red Bull didn't wait for a turnaround. They swapped him out immediately for Verstappen, who won his very first race for the senior team. Cold. Even Valtteri Bottas felt the heat driving for Mercedes. Despite multiple race wins and strong consistency, every single season his contract renewal was an open question. And by 2022, he was replaced by rising star George Russell. The reality is simple. F1 is ruthless. Drivers are constantly measured not just against their rivals, but against their teammates. The ultimate benchmark. You're only as good as your last race. A couple of bad weekends? The paddock starts whispering. Too many bad weekends. You're out, and the next hungry junior is waiting to take your place. The travelling circus. Being an F1 driver isn't just about racing at 300 kilometers per hour. It's about surviving the grind of a global calendar that barely lets you breathe. The 2024 F1 season? A whopping 24 races. That means crisscrossing the globe from Australia to Miami to Singapore to Vegas and everywhere in between, often with back-to-back weekends on different continents. No sport on Earth moves its entire show this far, this fast. Drivers aren't just showing up to race either. Every weekend means practice sessions, qualifying, endless sponsor events, media interviews, simulator prep, and team meetings. And the days in between? They're flying commercial or on team planes, jumping time zones, adjusting sleep cycles, and landing straight into the next round of obligations. Even the top drivers admit the toll is massive. Lewis Hamilton, who's been on the grid since 2007, has talked openly about burnout creeping in, despite all his experience. And younger stars like Lando Norris have shared how the endless travel and media commitments can wreck mental health if you don't manage it carefully. Then throw in jet lag, hotel rooms that blur together, and constant fan and media attention. You could win on Sunday, and by Monday you're already prepping for the next weekend's chaos. And that's it. Now to you, if you could put anyone, athlete, celebrity, or even yourself, into one of those 20 seats tomorrow, who would actually survive the brutal world of Formula One? Drop your pick in the comments, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.